What's up, guys? It's Nick from Creator Season. Today we got my man Allan Geiger. He's an entrepreneur, brand manager, and creative director. And so he's going to tell us a little bit about himself and how he got his start. So just kind of go from like the beginning of your childhood.
Absolutely.
And how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. Grew up in a small town in Ohio, and it was actually on a dairy farm. My typical childhood day was hanging around the barnyard and riding some four-wheelers, some dirt bikes, making trails. Kind of basically what a country song was. Dad always drove a Silverado. We kind of all grew up in the same area, so we called it Geigerville, which is my last name. And the grandparents lived here, aunt and uncle lived here, aunt and uncle lived here. So no one really knew who was having Thanksgiving or Christmas because everybody just walked over to each other's houses. So grew up there, went to a very small town, or small high school, and never really wanted to go to college. And some things happened in my life, like everyone has their stories, where I was kind of forced to move to another town, and my father passed, and when that happened, it kind of really changed my whole life, how I thought about life. And so after college, I was kind of thinking about after high school, I was thinking about going to college, and think I should probably better my life. And at the time, I was just playing music. That's all I really knew what to do. So, growing up doing the whole motocross thing, the racing, the barnyard, farming stuff, I got into playing music. And after high school, we were kind of taking the whole music thing pretty serious. I was playing in a rock band as a drummer, and I was still debating on college. I was like, I don't know if college is right for me. And so I basically ended the band. I left the band because I was making side money, designing stuff for other bands. So I kind of was designing the kick drum head, the backdrop, album covers, t-shirt designs. And when all these other bar owners and other bands are saying, man, you guys look cool, like, who's doing your stuff? I'm like, I'm doing it, and it's like, how much can we pay you? This is back when MySpace was still pretty popular, Pure Volume, if anyone knows what Pure Volume was, and then there was no Venmo. So it's kind of just handshake cash deals, and I liked it a lot. And so at that moment, I realized maybe I wasn't supposed to be a musician, a drummer, but maybe I'm the guy who's supposed to make those people look good on stage. And so at that moment, I went to college. I went to a 2-year private art school near Cleveland, Ohio, and got my degree in graphic design. But with that, you learn web design, you learn marketing, branding. I definitely took college very serious. And when I graduated, my goal was just to look really good on the internet. I wanted people to look up Allan Geiger and they say, wow, he's a great designer. And that kind of led me into Nashville.
And so when you say, back when you were designing all this stuff for these brands, just for context, were there a whole lot of freelancers doing that on the internet like there is now? Like right now, there's a crazy amount.
Yeah.
Was there people doing that as for a business back then?
There really wasn't. In small town Ohio, like Northeast Ohio, where I grew up, and even in Cleveland, there's a lot of creatives, but at that time, no one was really capitalizing on the local band scene. And back then, this is 2010, 2009, the local band scene was pretty huge, and like Warped Tour was still a big thing, especially in Cleveland because of AP magazine. And I started catering to DJs in Cleveland, not just rock bands, not just pop bands or bar owners. So I definitely feel I kind of capitalized on, you do one flyer for a DJ, then every DJ wants you to do their flyer. And I'm out of barter services, and I'll come in, just give me free drinks,
Yeah. So it's mostly word of mouth at that
point. It was
point.
word of mouth, and then going to college, one thing is it's really free networking as well. Mm-hmm. Your teachers will say, hey, this graduate is doing this, connect with them. And so a lot of internships as well.
And so at this point, you're starting to build an online portfolio when you're and so when you're with the rock band, you're still doing both at the same time?
Yeah, I'm still doing both. I did still play music my first few months in college before I left the band. Mm-hmm. I was definitely battling, kind of doing both, because I love music, and I loved playing. It was more just like a stress reliever. but I definitely knew I wanted to go into business. I always had that, entrepreneur mindset. And with the rate the band was going, I knew we had to move somewhere if we wanted to make it work. And, just like every rock band story, there's not a lot of money in the rock scene, unfortunately, at least nowadays. And I just kind of went the more business route.
And so during this time, you're still in Cleveland. You haven't moved to Nashville yet.
No, that was all Cleveland, and I moved here 4.5 years ago. So when I left college, the only job I had during college was like bartending at a nightclub, and that's how I got in with some DJs. And that's also how I kind of got a sense of luxury, because it was a nightclub where guys are rolling up in, a Ferrari or a Lambo. And, I'm dressed up in like dress clothes because we had mixologists and shaking drinks for these rich guys. And, I'm like, how do I get that car, It's kind of hard to, I'm like, how can I just be a graphic designer and own a Ferrari? Like, seems impossible. So I got a job at a startup company after college in a printing company. And they promised me a lot of things. It was a startup. They said in 8 months you're going to have your own creative team, all this shit. And I was like, I don't know, this sounds right. And so at the end of 2013, I said, I put my notice in. I said, when I wake up 2014, the very first day of 2014, I don't want no job. And I want to wake up in my mom's basement. And I'm just going to grind and hustle to make myself even look better on the internet. So it's kind of switching out all your school projects with like real life work.
Right. I'm sure that was it was a scary feeling, but at the same time, it kind of was a good feeling to know that you weren't clocking in and working for somebody else every single day.
Yeah, it was. Especially, and I just wasn't passionate about that job, and you gotta be around good people.
And so after this startup job, and you quit and you're working for yourself, what are you doing right then? Like, what are you doing for yourself?
I was there might have been a couple of nights of the weekend I drove back up to Cleveland to bartend just to have some cash flow. But I was not sleeping in my mom's basement on my computer, designing whatever I could. And I guess, honestly, it was what really kept me busy was that clothing brand. So I did start a clothing brand called Relax Max, and I was kind of keeping it active throughout college. So when I was fully on my own, unemployed in my mom's basement, I was just working on that. So I was learning e-commerce, how to sell things online, and then not just designing a product, but how to market that product so someone actually wants to buy it. Because at the end of the day, you're asking for someone to type in their credit card information, and you better look trusted. And
and so I actually kind of did the same route. When I got out of college, I didn't finish or graduate, but I kind of did the same thing. And so I started, I was mostly using Instagram. I don't know what the time was when you started, and I didn't use any Facebook ads, and that was the way to sell. And so I did everything organically. And since I've made a little bit extra money here and there, but I've kind of pushed it to the side to do other things. How were you running? Were you doing mostly Facebook ads or Instagram?
I was doing that. I was doing. It was Instagram. It was the start of Instagram, and then I remember I did like a first photo shoot, and so the whole clothing brand was about rock and roll, and I was really into tattoos and motorcycles. And my friends, my hometown friends, one owned a tattoo shop. We all had motorcycles, so they kind of had our own like little following. And the photo shoots, we used the girls we knew, and those girls knew girls. So when they were like, I want to wear your stuff for free. So it's kind of this word of mouth, and I actually never became a legal business until like 2.5 years ago.
Right.
And that's when, because I was just making, here's $20 for a shirt.
Right.
And then maybe 2 months later, here's another $20. Mm-hmm. In the meantime, I was just handing free hats and shirts out.
Right.
So it definitely was a full-time hobby and not a full-time business.
It's an expensive hobby.
It's a very expensive hobby. That's exactly what it was.
Yeah, I know how it is. But so you're doing that. Do you have another income? Have you started your other businesses yet?
No. So that was. I was trying to build a clothing brand, and then while I was still, figuring out how to move to Nashville, that's why I quit that job. I said I'm going to move to Nashville. I want to be jobless essentially in 2014, and just work on my own brand, whether it's my personal brand or Relax Max brand. And
how old are you at this point?
I was 24, 25.
Okay, so still pretty fresh out of college.
Yeah, because I Yeah, yep. And there's like there's like social media sites out there just for designers.
Mm-hmm.
Where you can post up your work and connect with other designers and creatives. So I was definitely on those, and I said if I'm ever going to move to Nashville, because I wanted to move to Nashville not just for music but just to work in the industry doing the creative stuff.
Yeah, there's a ton of creatives here. It's a great place.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I care about the creative process, and so I reached out to 3 people on LinkedIn in Nashville. Just went on LinkedIn, typed in creative like job titles in Nashville. Scrolled through a list of people, found 3 that had interesting job titles and seemed to work at a cool company. And I didn't ask for a job or anything like that. I just said, hey, here's my work. Should I move to Nashville? Are you having fun in Nashville? How is the creative atmosphere in Nashville? I know it's Music City, but how's the creativity down there? Is it worth me leaving my friends and family to go to Nashville? And the one response I got was someone who was over at CMT, and they said, hey, I went to Belmont, I got an internship, and then I got the job, so I'm not sure if I can help you out. Like, cool, like, that's being very honest.
Right.
And then the other person never got back to me, and then the other person called me 2 hours later, and that was the creative director over at Big Machine Label Group, and she basically said, hey, I don't really have much advice for you, but I wanted to call you because we think your work is great, and I showed my boss your work, and she loves it, and she wants to interview you.
That's awesome.
For a job. I was like, wait a minute, what? And so I literally drove 8 hours the next day for a job interview.
That's awesome. Big Machine, that's a pretty big opportunity.
Yeah, and I had no idea. I mean, I might know some of the acts on the roster, but I mean, I'm just still a small town boy in Ohio, right? And I had no idea people who lived in Nashville, like, on a music row. I didn't know about politics yet. I didn't know about who you talk to and who you don't talk to, and who, I didn't know any of that. So I was just this smile, cheek to cheek dude from Ohio saying, awesome, I'm having an interview here.
And so for some context for people who may not know too much about the record label, who are some of kind of the artists that you got to work with through Big Machine?
Yeah, it was fun. The very first artist was Ray Lynch. She was kind of like fresh off The Voice, and then moved up to like Justin Moore, Brantley Gilbert, Thomas Rhett, and then, I mean, they're known for Taylor Swift. Done a few little things here and there, and then got Ronnie Dunn. Steven Tyler was super fun. We did a special project with Motley Crue, and me growing up and like playing rock music in a rock band, meeting Motley Crue and Steven Tyler was kind of like my geek moment.
Right.
Just nerding out, and then a long list. Brett Young, love him. He's a good buddy now, and then yeah, it's a long list.
So you work at Big Machine. How long were you working there for?
I was there total maybe just over 4 years.
Okay, 4 years. And so what is your company that you are working on now? Or did you start it when you were working for Big Machine, or you kind of doubled it a little bit?
So I started out. So when I got the job, I was just a graphic designer in the creative department, and I quickly wanted more already, and I got a promotion within I think maybe my first 6 months, and so I had several months, 6-7 months in creative department, and then I quickly just went to director of interactive marketing in the marketing department. In the marketing department, sales, marketing, interactive, and we had a great team there. And I worked closely with my good friend now, Braden, who was director of social media. So me and him just worked. We were like the dynamic duo, and I definitely saw this new passion of mine of I really don't enjoy creating from like a blank canvas. I kind of like taking what already exists and just throwing fuel on it. So doing fan contests, email marketing, with the websites, and just overall social media contesting. So
you probably had a lot of those skills already from starting your own.
Exactly. So it was really familiar, interesting enough, and then also just designing merch. I mean that's a great experience to have, and when I mean designing merch, but also knowing how much a shirt costs and how the whole screen printing business works. I know I can make a shirt that looks like it's 2 colors, but it's really 1 color, and we can save money on that. So, so I spent a few years in the marketing department, and then was always freelancing. I was allowed to freelance, and definitely fortunate that I could drop certain names to make my freelance work, potential clients can trust me and they're saying, hey, we definitely want to pay you because you have this experience. And I started making okay side money, and I was ready to kind of pull the plug and leave the company and the benefits and all that and go on my own. So I created Artist Noize.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about Artist Noize, kind of what you do, how it started.
Yeah.
Just give us a little background.
Absolutely. So basically, I learned two things working in the music industry at the label, and just being out and about, networking, going out to the bars and everything. And that was every artist wanted to feel like they had a team, and every artist wants to feel like they have a team. And then the other one was artists. They got so stressed out about social media and their brand, because these artists, they just know what they know, and that is how to write a song, how to produce it, record it, and find out what their sound is and their style. Then it's my job to take the stress off of their online presence. So knowing those two things, I kind of built the business model of a typical creative agency, saying, oh, we're a full service creative agency. We can do your logo, your t-shirt design, your website, your album cover, Instagram feeds,
And
Instagram stories.
At this point, were you doing all the work, or were you subbing anything out?
I was doing all of it, and then I started subbing out like lyric videos and photo shoots, because I'm not a videographer or photographer, but I know photographers and videographers. And so it started out as a creative agency, which a typical creative agency does outsource out to other creatives. And I was nervous because I didn't think I was going to make any money. Like, going on my own, it's a very scary thing. So I was saying yes to everyone and anything. And now, fast forward, Artist Noize, it's been 1.5 years now that it's opened doors. And it's kind of turning into, it has turned into a content and brand management company, where we are saying no to certain artists and clients and just focusing more on our set roster, and making them feel like they have a team and they don't have to lose sleep overnight of what to post on Instagram. So it's kind of turning this like personalized white glove service of come have a consultation, we'll figure out your brand, and then we just build a custom package to market you.
And that's cool, because a lot of these artists, it's kind of sad that the talent can only do so much these days, because with the internet and how popular Instagram and these influencers have gotten, if you can't grow a brand online, like you don't have a team, like you're just kind of out of luck. Like,
exactly. I mean, you're 100% right. I mean, you are your brand, and it sucks. I mean, a really good song at the end of the day, it will get heard at some point, but you can be an average singer, but if your brand is just investable, you have to think about the business and the politics. Certain people will see something and say, I know how we can capitalize, and I'll be happy at the end.
Exactly. And so at this point, you started Artist Noize, and how long has it been from today and since you started it? What's the time frame on that?
It had been, it's gotta be, I started like day one when I left the label.
And so
secretly.
When was that? What year was that?
It was right before CMA Fest. And if you've ever been to CMA Fest, you'll probably understand why I left right before it.
Exactly.
Because that's a lot of hard work during CMA Fest working.
It's a lot of business opportunities.
Oh yeah. So I just want to be on my own, control my schedule. So that was in June, two CMA Fest ago. So it's got to be not 2 years yet, 1.5 years. It has to be 1.5 years.
So it'd be this 2016 CMA Fest, because it says in June. So
correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Exactly.
And so when you say, I know you're subbing it out, but was it you were Artist Noize, or did you have other employees on board?
Yeah, fun secret. I starting out, and still I did it yesterday. Like I'll be very transparent. You email info@Artist Noize. Email signature will say Team Noize, and I'll say we're CCing the owner right now, and I'm just CCing myself, right? And so, but that's part of the game and part of the hustle, and I'm definitely, Artist Noize is at a point where there are employees in the interview process, and all that's happening right now as we speak. So, but yeah, up to this moment, it's all kind of been me, and then outsourcing when needed. But kind of why I took it from creative agency to brand management is I get to have like a smaller list of artists, and they kind of need that small team feel and vibe. So I have my photographers, videographers that are close to my side, but who they're talking to every day is me.
Cool, man. And that's kind of what when I saw you on Instagram, it does look like you have like a big company. Like, I'm not saying it's not a big company, but it looks like you've got a team behind you, and like it looks like it looks a lot bigger than it is, which is a good thing.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I mean, we do have Artist Noize puts on Nash Noise, which is a concert series, and then we have the podcast called Inside the Noise. And Jenna Hyman runs the podcast. I mean, that's all on her. So that definitely helps. It's kind of cool to wake up and see that there is a post and it's tagged with Artist Noize, and I'm not doing it. Right.
Yeah.
So there is people in place in Nash Noise that have some hands-on people. So there's a lot of it's kind of the whole work smarter and not harder.
Right.
And just Nashville in general is a very accepting city, and so it's not like I don't sleep. I mean, I definitely do, but not much.
Right. And so, is there anything else you want to kind of go on about Artist Noize, or kind of just share about that?
Yeah, I mean, just basically, if you're an artist or even a music industry company, I work with a lot of management. So some management companies or even small record labels can't afford 40 to 60 grand a year in-house creatives, and what they can afford is maybe a 3-month retainer with Artist Noize, and so they feel like they have an in-house creative, but it's really just me and Artist Noize. And then if you're an artist and just want to play out in Nashville, we're working on LA, New York, and Chicago. Just go to nashnoise.com and you can submit to play Nash Noise, which is a beautiful platform, I think, for not just artists but also creatives. We pay artists not with cash but with content. And
I've seen that on Artist Noize, the concerts, people have this idea that Nashville is just country, and you actually do quite a few genres, and I think that's super cool.
Exactly. I mean, it's definitely Music City, and it's very country driven. However, and I love there's certain people here in Nashville that are trying to do like a pop event or a hip hop event, but they're forgetting that there is still country. So everyone's kind of sticking with one genre, and I'm like, no, I'm just all genre. Like, I'm gonna have pop, but I'm not gonna forget about country. I'm gonna have country, but I'm not gonna forget about rock and roll.
Exactly. And with today's country, I mean, the lines are kind of getting blurred out between genre anyway. So.
Yeah. I mean, it's songs need genres, but artists don't.
Right. Well, all right, man. I think it's been a pleasure. I appreciate you letting me come out and do a little interview.
Thanks for coming to the office. A little noise with some trains and
got a little
100 people staff over here.
Yeah, got a little rain on the roof. So
and then the rain. Yeah, Nashville's been kind of shitty all week right now.
Exactly. All right, man. Well,
cool,
I appreciate it. It was good.
Man.
Yep.